Hello, hello, hello. It's Sunday's Best, and I'm back at it again. And I hope you've had a great, great, great weekend thus far, and that you're ready to rock and roll this week, or that you're going on vacation and you plan to have a really good time. All right, so I was out of town this weekend with my granddaughter playing softball, and so I got to see a little bit of parts of Georgia I'd never seen, and Tennessee as well. So it's good to get away. And for those of you who are joining for the first time, I'm Nancy Johnson. I am based out of Columbia, and we have people on the call from other cities throughout the South and in the North. So my family and I have been here in Columbia now for 42 years, and I worked formerly for an insurance company for 19 years, and I've been in real estate 36 years, and I've been doing Sunday's Best for 3 years. So hopefully you're in for some enlightening information, and that you have pen and paper to take copious notes. And I really appreciate you getting on. And you still have time to invite a friend, a colleague, a church member, a family member, because you know what? We're all in this together. We're in the beginning of a recession. And all the month of June, we've been talking about, we've been hearing about, and hopefully you have been implementing and executing on some of the ideas, because I have. And so just for the ones that this is your first time on Sunday's Best, welcome again. And here's our routine. We will start by going over some of the things that we discussed last week, not in great detail. And then this evening, we're going to go, those of you who are Bible scholars, I love the book of Proverbs. And we ended last week with talking about the virtuous woman and the fact that she had 6 or 7 streams of income. And I'm trying to talk a little bit faster today because I normally don't talk fast. But I have so much that I want to share with you. Because how many of you knew that there are more than 2,300 scriptures in the Bible relating to wealth, riches, prosperity, and so it was intended for us to be the head and not the tail, and to be the lenders and not the borrower. And in fact, when Jesus traveled, he had a treasure with him, and that probably wasn't just to carry a bag of pennies. No matter what mission you carry out, there is something, it's going to cost you something. Whether you have to pay your way as you go for your accommodations, or whether you have to help somebody, it costs somebody something. So last week we talked about inflation, what it is, and what we should do to prepare and position ourselves. The word inflation, it says tighten up. We're going to enter into some turbulence. Minimize your spending. Hold off on large purchases until you think it through. Don't make large purchases on an emotional charge. Cut back. Find ways to cut back. That's part of positioning. That's part of preparing yourself. Find ways to cut back. And we talked about some of those ways. We also talked about ways, because we're in a pandemic, and because a lot of people have decided that this is the time for them to resign from a full-time job and perhaps start their own business. If you got a plan and you resign, that's a great thing, but I'm sticking to it. If you don't have a plan and you're just quitting to opt out because you can, think about the long-term consequences. If you quit a $15 an hour job and you leave that job for 2 years and your bills get behind because you don't have a plan and because you don't have an emergency fund, because you're just acting out of emotions or acting out of the fact that you wish you could make more money, then when you get even a $10 an hour raise, when you're back at work somewhere or your business and you're making $25 an hour, you got to play catch up. All right? So the world doesn't owe you anything. And so when you opt out, there are consequences. We all make choices. We all should be making choices, but we should be thinking those choices through. So start a home-based business. Everyone last week was encouraged to do that. Whether you're already retired and want something else to do, because if you retire at 65 and you're blessed to live another 25, 30 years, it's hard just to sit out life and do absolutely nothing. And I'm sure when you first retired, that's what you thought you'd do. You'd get up when you woke up instead of get up because it was time to get up. But the average person can find something else in life that interests them. So a home-based business has great benefits. It can create a second or third stream of income. It's one of the best tax write-offs you can get. And another thing that you can do to prepare, besides starting that home-based business, is learn to live below your means. It's okay. You don't have to compete with other people. In fact, if you just become the best you that you can be and do the best job at whatever it is that you're charged to do, I'll bet you can do a better job at it than most people. Another thing you can do is cut back on some of the things that we said you may want to categorize as needs instead of wants, or wants instead of desire, and then know which one to prioritize. And the fourth thing we said is that you should build up. No longer is a 3 or 6 month expense reserve required. And especially if you're self-employed like I am, or like so many of people are newly self-employed, and they have been depending on and betting on and counting on getting a check every week or every 2 weeks or at least once a month. But when you're self-employed, you're not always, there's nothing to say that you're going to get a check. I could be working with a client and we could have started, well, let me give you a real example. I've worked with several clients, and where it used to take 6 to 8 months to build a home, it was taking 16 to 18 months to build a home. So imagine if I were new to the business and thought, oh, I've got a $300,000 or $400,000 home sold, and I'm going to make $8,000 to $10,000. But if I just had that one and was counting on that one check, that one commission check, what if the interest rates went up and that person no longer qualified? I just worked for free. Or what if I did get paid, and if I had no other income coming in and I only had 3 months worth of reserve? I would be in a mess. You would be in a mess, because if you've gone 16 to 18 months without a check, you may even have a couple of others in the pipeline. But when you're self-employed, here's something I'll tell you. Don't quit your job until you got a plan. Don't quit your job until you have reserves. Don't quit your job counting on getting something from somebody else. And please don't quit your job, no matter what business you plan to go into, if you think that the government is going to continue to fund you like we were able to capitalize on a year or two ago. All right? So PPP was what the government offered, but here's my PPP: prepare, position, and persevere. Okay? And so the other thing we said is a home-based business could make your life and your dreams come true. But preparation for a recession is so necessary. How can you keep more of what you make? That's one of the biggest things. Stop spending out of control and keep more than you make. And the other thing we said was, when you decided maybe 10, 15 years ago that you were going to take your options and retire at 65 or retire even at 72, I'll bet you didn't figure in inflation would be what it is. And I'll bet you didn't, you probably said, well, a tank of gas, because I won't be working, will cost me half. But because gas has doubled or tripled since you made your plans 10, 15 years ago, you got to come up with something else. And either you got to shave something off of what you're doing, decide what is a need, decide what is a desire, and then do accordingly. And I'll throw this one in again because I saw an example. There was a red purse and red bottom shoes. And I said last week that you are free and it's your option. It's your money to buy and to spend on Gucci, on Louis, and on anybody else other than you. But remember, when you're spending, you are not saving for your retirement. You are a consumer and you're buying a good. And that person has every right to charge what they want to charge for it, but you don't have to buy it. But if you do buy it, let me say this again. If you don't have an emergency fund, if you don't have 3 to 6 months or even a year if you're self-employed, I would think twice about paying $700 or $800 for red bottom shoes to match a red purse that costs you, I mean, I never bought it. I was told you could pay as much as $2,000 for a Gucci bag. So if you pay $2,000 for the bag and $700 or $800 for the shoes, and you got an average of $250 in your savings account and nothing in your emergency fund, something's wrong with that picture. Something is wrong with that picture. All right? And so you don't owe Louis, you don't owe Chanel, you don't owe Gucci anything but to wish them well. And if you can afford, and if you have the wherewithal and the desire to buy it, God bless you and look good in it. And just know that you are not the average person who can afford it, or maybe you are. But I'm just saying preparation and positioning for whatever season will come. Because when the recession comes to us, when the recession comes to the U.S. or the world, it's coming to you too. And so just be ye also ready. And the last thing that I will share about last week was we said a need. Everybody needs a car, but not everybody needs a BMW. Everybody needs a phone, but they don't need the latest iPhone. So being smart, being wise, being frugal, it's no shame in my game. Separate the needs and the wants and the desire. I may want to spend more of my hard-earned money on a vacation. You might want to spend it on a car. And so all of us have choices. But just remember that we have to, each one of us have to live with our choices. And if Starbucks is one of your choices, go for it. If you want to cook at home, get a brown bag and put your lunch in it, go for it. Brown bag your way to green. But however you do it, make sure that you're putting preparation time into what is looming, and that is a recession. So again, it's not the government's job to take care of you. It's not even your spouse's job in all cases, because sometimes people say, well, I don't work outside of the home. Well, godly, yes, it is your spouse's responsibility. But if that is not happening, or if that spouse can't actually do it on their own, then you have some gifts. And the gifts weren't handed out for you to be handicapped. The gifts were handed out as a gift to use so that you too can have the opportunity to change the world. If you change your attitude, if you change your thinking, if you change your health condition, if you change your income, it can change your life. And like I tell people, when you prepare to buy a home, you can change your zip code on where you want to live. So a person that is willing to step out on faith and work at it and not blow, here's the thing. The same wind blows on all of us. The same rain falls on all of us. It may be raining in California, may be cloudy in Washington State, it may be sunshine in South Carolina, but sooner or later, the same rain is going to rain in those different locations, and the same sun is going to shine. And we have the same amount of time to use what we got to get what we want. All right, so that was where we were last week. So if you missed last week, just know that you don't want to miss our segment that's coming up for July. All of June we talked about positioning yourself. And so how many of you, when we say food for thought, what comes to mind? When we say make hay while it's day, what comes to mind? Are you, and these are other questions, are you a brand name shopper or are you a bargain hunter? Either way, it's a good thing. How much of your food, how much of your expenses go to rent or mortgage, food, or transportation? And if a lot of your income go to those top three things, then you have to look at which of those three things can you control, which ones are out of your control. And so the next question is, when is it wise to buy certain things? Did you know that there's a season to buy certain things? And before I go to the scriptures that we're going to talk about that relate to recession, I picked up a book, and it's called Cut Your Bills in Half, Thousands of Tips to Save Thousands of Dollars. Now, I'm sure things have changed. I bought this book, I read this book, July 1993. That was quite some time ago. And some of the things that were in this book, we're going to talk about next month. Example, the contents in Cut Your Bills in Half is by Rodale Press, and I'll put a copy of it up so you can get it if you're interested in it, if it's still in print. Number one, eating better for less. You say your kids can eat you out of a house and a home. Well, today, eating out can eat you out of a house and home. Number two, making dressing on a shoestring budget. How many of you know you can go shopping in your closet? You know, I have things in my closets that I have worn 15 years ago, and I still take them out and I still wear them. Because we spend a lot of money on shopping. But during the pandemic, you should have been able to save some on shopping and dry cleaning. The next one, putting the ceiling on your home expenses. Sometimes you just have to put the brakes on. Number six, save energy and save money. How many of you know you can save energy by cooking 2 meals at one time using the same electricity? I used to do it all the time. I had a double oven. And when now you don't have a double oven, for the most part, you got 4 eyes on the stove and you got an oven. So you can save some money by doing that. Take off to travel bargains. Sometimes it doesn't cost others as much as it could cost you for taking a vacation. So when you talk to other people, there's some questions you can ask. There's some research you can do to make sure that you get a good vacation in, but not at all cost. If you can get it for less, get it for less. How do you take a bite out of your taxes? How do you beat paying high insurance rate? How do you plan for an estate? A will can save you money, headaches, emotional stress. And so these are some of the things that we're going to be talking about in the coming month. But for right now, last week we said that the virtuous woman had a lot of skills, a lot of talents, a lot of businesses, and a lot of streams of income. I don't know if they had inflation back then, but something tells me that she had a plan, that she was preparing, that she was positioning herself for something. And I hope that's you too. I hope that's you too. You should never be without a plan. You should never be hopeless. You should never be broke. You should never be penniless. Not if you can do something about it. So I'm using the Message Bible, and I'm going to this. It is Sunday's Best, and I'm not preaching. I'm not a preacher. But there's just so much in the Bible, and I went to sections that talked about things that could prepare you or could take you through a recession, through a rough spot. All right? And this part of the Bible, Proverbs, we're starting at Proverbs 19 and 24. And it says, God doesn't miss a thing. And it says, if you quit listening, it's on you. But God doesn't miss a thing. And so Proverbs 19 and 24 actually says, some people dig a fork into the pie, but they're too lazy to raise it to their mouth. So you can have gifts. Somebody can give you a stimulus, and you can be too lazy to apply it. That was Proverbs 19 and 24. Proverbs 20 and 4 says, a farmer too lazy to plant in the spring has nothing to harvest in the fall. Prepare yourself. Prepare yourself. Proverbs 20 and 13 says, don't be too fond of sleep, or you'll end up in the poorhouse. Wake up, get up, and then there'll be food on your table. Laziness. Proverbs 20 and 13 says, don't be, oh, I'm sorry, that was 20 and 13. 21 and, let's see. No, there's another one in Proverbs. It says, form your purpose by asking for counsel, then carry it out by getting the help you need. So, seek wise counsel. If you don't know how to prepare, someone does. If you don't know how people got through the last recession, ask somebody. You may have not been hit as hard as other people were, but learning the survival, having a survival kit is necessary. Proverbs 21 and 5 says, careful planning puts you ahead in the long run. Hurry and scurry puts you behind. So you don't want to have to get ready. You want to be ready when this recession hits. And you know what? If it doesn't hit, you'll be all the better for it. Proverbs 21 and 11 says, simpletons only learn the hard way, but wise people learn by listening. So thank you for getting on this call today. It's Sunday's Best. And I always try to give you something that's relatable, not something that's just going to benefit me. But I do share with you things that I've used in the past. Like I read that book, Cut Your Bills in Half. And I did it several times. And I read it in 1993. So I'm an avid reader. I love reading. Proverbs 21 and 25 says, lazy people finally die of hunger because they won't get up and they won't go to work. They won't get up and they won't go to work. And Proverbs 21 and 31 says, do your best, prepare for the worst, then trust God to bring the victory. God has a part and you have a part. And so in this recession, we can pray and say, God, I know you're going to bring me through this. But he's going to say, it's on you. What you going to do? You make one step, I'll make two. You get out the bed and I'll make a way for you. Provision. Prepare, position, and possess. You gotta do it. You gotta do it. 22 and 2 says, a rich and a poor shake hands as equal. God made them both. God made them both. 22 and 6, point your kids in the right direction. When they grow old, they won't be lost. So if you're talking about legacy building, if you're talking about leaving a legacy, creating a family bank, that's something that I'm learning more about. And actually was doing it, just didn't realize that you can do it to a greater extent by using life insurance and some other things. And as soon as I get a handle on it, I'm going to work it. And we have a few more. Proverbs 21 and 7 says, the poor are always ruled by the rich. So don't borrow and put yourself under their power. And that's why it says we should be the lenders and not the borrowers. And we know that we all borrow. We all have had times when we had to borrow because we can't pay cash for everything yet. Okay? And number 13 says, the loafer says, there's a lion on the loose. I can't go out there to work. I'll get eaten alive. You know, a lazy person can think up a lot of ways to stay in bed, a lot of ways to talk their way out of working. Here's another one. And this one says, it's Proverbs 22 and verses 26 and 27. Don't gamble on a pot of gold being at the end of the rainbow. hawking your house against a lucky chance. The time will come when you'll have to pay up, and you'll be left with nothing but the shirt on your back. Did you know all of these scriptures were in Proverbs, my favorite book of the Bible? Now, I try to go through Proverbs at least once a year, and I find something new and relatable. And since we've been talking all month about prepare, I went through to find the ones that I thought that will help you prepare. Because if you haven't taken me seriously, or if you haven't taken the news seriously, perhaps reading the Word, and for me, the Message Bible is pretty clear. And so I'm going to give you two more, and then we're going to end. Number 29, 22 and 29. Observe people who are good at their work. Skilled workers are always in demand and admired. They don't take a back seat to anyone. So remember I said, if you're trying to create a second stream of income, or a third, or even a seventh stream of income, look at your gifts and your skills and your talents and get some self-development. Figure out what you want to go after and focus on it like a laser. You want to become the expert. You want to be the best at that you can be. You want to know more about it than the average person. And so it says you won't have to take a back seat to anyone. You can be all that God wants you to be. You can be the head and not the tail. You can be the superstar. You can be the queen of real estate. You can be the best model. You can be the best author. You can do it. Yes, you can. Remember, that's our motto. And the very last one that I'm going to give you is Proverbs 26 and 13. 26 and 13 will be the last one. It says, loafers say it's dangerous out there. Tigers are all around the street, and they pull the cover over their heads and say, I ain't going out there. All right? So I know you've heard a lot of these excuses. And when I said in the beginning, I asked the question, food for thought. Have I given you some food for thought tonight? Make hay while it's day. The words from Proverbs, have they encouraged you to get up off your do nothing or tighten up on your game? Because a recession is coming. Like I said last week, a train is on the track. You don't need to know what speed it's traveling, which direction it's coming from. If you're on the track, get off the track for your safety. If you have not done some of the things that I just spoke of, get busy. Implement a few of them. Get busy. The time is now. And so let's see who we have on this evening. See if I can get down to that. Okay. Vivian, never act out of emotions with serious financial new ideas. That's Vivian in Atlanta. Diane Jackson said, I paid myself, Miss Nancy. How many of you out there paid yourself? Because you know what? You count. All right? So count yourself in. Gloria Cooper says, blessings, I paid myself. Vivian said, good information, Nancy. Thank you, Vivian. Sandra Bolton says, let's see, I missed somebody. Gloria Moore, Absolutely. Keep that job and start that home-based business for the extra stream of income. Lily James says, good evening. I paid myself. Let's see. Sandra Bolton says, when you're spending, you're funding someone else's retirement. Absolutely, absolutely. Let's see. Carolyn Kelly. Hey, my friend, from West Park, Florida. I think this may be the first time Carolyn has been on. We have been friends for about 60 years. We met in 4th grade in Hallandale, Florida. And she says, great information. Thank you so much for getting on. Gloria Moore, think about what is to come. LaCrystal, it's been a while since you were with us, LaCrystal. And the name of the book is what LaCrystal wants. It is called Cut Your Bills in Half. And that is it there. And I'll put it up again. And I read it in 1993. So like I said, things have changed. Back then we probably didn't do automatic deposits and those type things, but it's still great information. Sandra Bolton says, I'm a thrift store shopper, prefer paying cash. Also, thrift store shopper. And so we talked about last week, if you use cash and you pull out a 10, a 20, or 100, and you pull out a lot of them, if you got any conscience, you'd be like, ouch. I just filled up and that was $90. I only got $10 left out of that 100. But if you're using a debit card or a credit card, you just flip the card out and you don't think about it till you get the bill. All right? And Vivian says, the virtuous woman definitely had a plan. I agree, Vivian. She had a plan. Gloria Moore says, don't be lazy. Wake up, get up, and then do something. I used to have a poster, and I put it in my closet. And it was some ducks, a mama duck, and about 6 or 7 other little baby chicks. And it said, do something. Lead, follow, or get out of the way. And sometimes that's what you have to do. You have to leave people by the wayside. And if you come back that way and they are still there, they may be ready at that point. Because you can tell them, you can have a testimony and tell them what you have done. And sometimes you have to lose the weight. Dead weight can hold you back. Toxic people can hold you back. Negative thinking people, negative talking, no doing, no going, just talking, they can hold you back. And you don't need that. You don't need that. You got to prepare. You got to be ready. So wake up, get up, then do something. Genevieve Burgess from King Street, South Carolina. Great reminders on how to save money. And Genevieve, if you never know anything else in the world, you, Gloria, and Rabnell should know how to save money. And I'll add myself to that because Uncle CJ always told us, don't spend every dime you get. And he was talking when we weren't even making $1. We were supposed to put a dime or whatever in church. So Sandra Ellison, my sister, she says good information. And Sandra retired from a job of 30 or 32 years, but she had her business. She had a plan. She is a seamstress, a designer, does alterations, and she had her business, So and So was the name of it, Fitfully So. She had that going before she actually fully retired. And Vivian, my friend, says, cut your bills in half. This is a book. This is a book we can purchase, right? Yes. And I'm going to put it up again so y'all can get the the author write. And they may have it audible by now. I don't know. And then maybe you can just listen to it. Let's see. Last one, great points. And so I'm going to go back up top. And if I missed anybody, I know there are a couple of people that are usually on. Olivia and Gloria Cooper and Marva and Lavinia. I may have missed your name, but I thank you for getting on, and invite some other people on. I'd like to know what other topic, but for right now, July, it's going to be this book. And it's going to be, if you can get the book, great. It may be out of print, and if anybody can find out whether it's on audio, please let me know. Send me, inbox me and let me know. But it's great. And like I said, my first read was in, I didn't even have a cell phone then. That's my home phone number. And that was July 18th, 1973. So what goes around comes around. A recession should not surprise any of us. None of us. And so, like I said, the train's on the track. It's moving, and you better get moving, or you're going to get moved. And not in a nice way. When we said those who remembered Hugo, those who remembered the flood, a lot of people lost stuff. And in this recession, we may lose some stuff. But prepare. And just think about those scriptures. And there were a ton more that I could have cited. But those are the ones that I thought that were related to the recession. So, have a good night. Have a great life. In fact, have $1 million life. And next week, I have something that I'm going to share with you about my month of June. And I hope when I coach people, I tell them that we want to talk about the wins and we want to talk about the challenges. And one of my challenges, and before long, it's going to be my win, because I know you guys are going to help me. I want to have 100 people on this Facebook Live, Sunday's Best. And I don't think that's asking too much. Because you know what? 200 more people, at least more people than what I know. So if you just invite 5, everybody invite 5. Maybe you need to invite 10 so that at least 5 will get on. And 30 minutes to 45 minutes, I don't think that's robbery for me to do the research and for you to share your comments and for all of us to grow together. All right? So have $1 million life, and life is great. We got to live it. We got to live it. We can't afford to pause too long. It's that important. And if it's that important, we need to make it a priority. We need to put premium fuel in our body if we want to be around. And we got to put good thoughts in our minds if we want to move forward. And don't allow other people to take you back. That was then, this is now. Now I know better, I can do better. Have $1 million life.